Okay. That might be David.
Hello.
David, we can't see you. Is your camera on?
You can't?
Your camera.
Let's see. Let me turn it on. Let's see. Hey, how you doing? Yes, Carlos, nice to meet you. David Newsom. It's good to see you. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Yep, he just let.
Yes, that is the man. Yes, it is. That is the man.
Who y'all talking about?
We're talking about this man that looks just like you.
Oh, Carlos, how you doing, brother? Oh man, it's a blessing to see you.
This will probably be it because Walter, I think, is traveling right now. Looking forward to it.
Good evening. This is your host, DKCOG. Want to welcome you out to the city. That's what you're seeing in my background. That's downtown Kansas City. It's really great to be back home, but I also had a life in another city called Omaha, Nebraska. And it was a pleasure that I had a chance. Before I get into all that, welcome to the program. The program is #GetReady. Again, I'm your host, the KCOG, and that OG stands for Opinionated Grandpa, just so y'all know. So hopefully y'all hearing me okay, because I want to keep things moving. We're going to have a little background music. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but they'll hear it on the stream. So let's go ahead and get into a few things tonight. Let's start off with our guests. These gentlemen is part of my Omaha life. Hold on. Where I'm at. Something happened to me here. What the hell happened?
There
Just
he
one thing
is.
about technology. Oh, there he is. Okay.
There I am. Sorry about
Okay.
that. I don't know what happened. My entire internet crashed for a minute there. Sorry about that, gentlemen. It just
No problem.
well, I was making the introduction as to who these gentlemen are. First of all, let me go ahead and get back to the fact that a part of my life was spent in Omaha, Nebraska, about 26 years. My job pulled me up there, and I worked in Omaha until I retired back in 2019. And during that time in Omaha, I was doing a lot of work for the Malcolm X Foundation, and I had the pleasure of meeting both Mr. Alan Black and Pastor James Hunter when I was doing the radio work with the Malcolm X Foundation. We were hoping to put together a fantastic little community radio station, but some kind of way the whole project ended up getting hijacked and going in a different direction. And after I realized it wasn't a direction that I was comfortable with, at that point I decided to step out of the way and let them move along with the radio project. Now, I do understand the radio station is still there, although the personnel that was running the station is no longer there. If you guys haven't been in touch with Leo Lewis, he's still the president of the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. And I know he's interested in keeping the radio station because he just recently reapplied for the license. So you might want to reach out to him. I'm just passing that information out. But to get on with the introduction of these gentlemen, they have a broadcast that is called, I want to make sure I got the letters correctly, AJDW Conversation. And actually, I really enjoyed their format. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I was listening to it. And as soon as I started listening to it, I said, wait a minute. That voice sounds familiar, but I can't put a name to it. So I immediately messaged Mr. Black, and I said, who's that J at AJDW? And he told me that was Pastor James Hunter. And then it all just came right back immediately. I just knew it. So before I get any further, I'm going to take a break, take a breath, and I'm going to let y'all step in, introduce yourselves, give us a little update on the show, and then I'll introduce the topic.
Go ahead, Maestro. You the leader. You the man.
Oh, okay. Y'all waiting on me. See?
Yes, sir. You the
All
leader.
right. I'm David Newsom. I'm one of the team players for AJDW. The D in the AJDW conversation would be David, with myself. I have a married wife, 4 kids, a man of God, entrepreneur, and I've enjoyed this journey. I have a wonderful team that I'm working with, and who you'll get a chance to soon meet. But that's who I am. Simple,
Hey,
nothing
but 2 things.
elaborate. Just
First, I
plain old
hear
me.
you're the brain trust of this whole operation. And then, second of all, I can't let you use that word entrepreneur or not talk about your actual business. Go ahead and drop what you do, bro.
My business, I'm a hairstylist. I've been doing hair for about 34 years. I've worked in the industry. I've worked in several salons. I have my own hair product. And I enjoy making people beautiful, good looking. I enjoy bringing out the best of all the people that sit in my chair. And it really works well in what I do as the podcast, because I get a chance to have good conversation with a lot of people. So it's been a worthwhile career. It's done well for me. So that's what I do. That's what I
a blessing in itself. And I know you're talking about conversation. You're probably talking all day long in your life.
Yes.
Mr. Black, we're going to get to you in a minute. Come on, Pastor. What's going on, sir?
Brother Carlos Carr, man, it is a pleasure to see you and to hear your voice. Man, when you left Omaha lost the jewel and Kansas City regained the sun.
Yes, they
Thank
did.
you,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, they
Thank
did.
We certainly miss you, and the work that you did in our community was second to none. I'm the J in AJDW, and I'm a pastor. Right now, my wife and I co-pastor a ministry called Unconditional Love Worship Center, and I've been in ministry for over 40 years now. My hobby is radio. Well, let me go back. I'm married. I got 2 biological kids and 5 stepchildren and a whole bunch of grandkids. And that's why I don't have any hair at the moment. But it's all good. It's all good. Started doing radio about 20 years ago and just fell in love with it. It's a hobby. It's still fun to me to this very day. I enjoy it. It is so much fun. And I had the pleasure of meeting and having a conversation with Mr. Carlos Carr, being with Mind and Soul at the Malcolm X Foundation. And he gave me an opportunity to play gospel music on Mind and Soul and bring some other artists on board. And it was a great pleasure. And one thing that stood out about Mr. Carr to me was his professionalism, the ultimate professional. And I appreciated that so much with him and working with him. Just now excited about this new journey with 3 other gentlemen, David Newsom, Sir Alan T. Black, and Walter Bowtie Williams. We started this in 2020 in the midst of a pandemic, and the Lord laid it on David's heart and to bring the 3 of us together along with himself and shared this concept with us. And we took it. It was it was right on time for us to do. And we look at it, we're 4 men from different religious persuasions, if you will. David is a apostolic Pentecostal. Alan is a Methodist. Walter Bowtie Williams, the baby boy of the group, is a Baptist, and I'm a Kojic, Church of God in Christ. That's my roots. And so we have different perspectives on the topics that we talk about. And we don't always agree, Carlos, but the thing that ties us together is that we all love God. We're 4 black men that love God.
That's the key.
And we talk about different things, and man, it gets heated sometimes. It gets interesting, and we have fun, we laugh, but it's a journey, man, that God is opening up doors for us. We're on different radio stations across the country, even over in Europe. We've been interviewed by television stations locally. We're getting ready to go on one of the newspapers, the only black newspaper in Nebraska, the Omaha Star. An article getting ready to come out about us on that. So God is doing some great things. And then to top it all off, we're down in Kansas City with Mr. Carlos Carr.
Talk about it.
We got a chance to bring it up. When I saw the first notification, I actually saw it from Mr. Black, and as soon as I saw it, I said, I'm going to make note of it. I'm going to get to it, but I got to build something with this program. And then as I was starting to look at what I was going to do, getting the program off the ground, I'm looking at the message that I seen from Mr. Black, and I said, let me go listen to the show. I went over and listened to the show. I love the format. I love the conversation. And there's nothing wrong with a little disagreement and a group discussion, because that's what kind of makes it a discussion, you know. If we're all sitting here agreeing on the same thing, I'm quite sure it would be very exciting. But with that, that is the way that I would love to introduce this brother, because I believe I met Mr. Black before I met Pastor Hunter. I think you actually put me in touch with Pastor Hunter, if I remember correctly.
Yes, sir, I did.
And I was really looking forward because, believe it or not, he had pitched a radio program to Mind and Soul. I was interested in following up on it. I thought it would be a great concept, and the program director and I just couldn't get on the same page. But with all that said, Mr. Alan Black, bring us up to date. What's going on with you, sir?
Well, I am the A in AJDW. They affectionately call me Sir Alan because I'm the oldest, okay? So they said, rather than call me Grandpa, they just call me Sir. I said, I'll take it. Okay. I'm okay with it. So I am retired. I've been retired for probably about 10 years, just kind of doing some things part-time. My other passion besides the radio program is being a Christian author. I've been very blessed over the last, 6 years now. I've released 2 books. I made the bestseller list on Amazon in 2019 and looking to release my 3rd book, hopefully within the next couple months as well. So that's that side of what I do. I was just totally floored when David reached out and called me about AJDW. He said, well, Alan, you think you'd be interested? He started explaining the vision to me. I said, where do I sign up at? Okay, come on now. I can do this. And so for me, this has been an amazing journey. And you know, Carlos, I think that David and Pastor will agree with the fact that this is a rare occasion when you can get 4 men from 4 different walks of life to come together, and we don't feel threatened by each other. We're not trying to challenge each other or best each other, but we've come with a spirit of love and a spirit of commitment to hear each other out and to learn from each other. And so that's just been the greatest blessing in all of this, is the fact that each Sunday afternoon when we're on, we get to discuss a topic. You've got 4 different points of view, but from my academic background, because I worked in academia at the Teacher College at UNO, I've always come to understand from that particular paradigm that you learn by the process of dialogue and interaction and exchanging information back and forth. That's how we grow as individuals. And like you said, we're not going to always agree, but we have to agree not to disagree and be open-minded enough to say, I may not agree, but I'm certainly going to process what you say and see if that's something that I can incorporate into what my viewpoint is. So that's been the biggest joy in all of this. And so I'm excited. It's been about 6 months, and I think the future is bright in terms of where God's going to lead us. The journey so far has been amazing. It's gone beyond what I thought we could do within 6 months, but it just goes to show you that if you're going to try to be obedient and just follow what God's calling you to do, that He'll open up doors for you that you just did not anticipate. So I'm very excited.
That's honest to God true. But like I said, I'm very, very impressed with your format and where you're going with that. I think you're going to have some great success because of that. The other thing is the studio work of the program is just off the chain. The clarity of the voices, the cueing of the music, commercial, everything is on point. And you can tell that you guys worked hard at putting the program together, and there's a lot of thought and purpose for the program. And to me, that's very, very important on any program that you're going to be doing, that you're showing a little bit of thought and purpose within the program itself. Which kind of brings me to what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm going to kind of jump in there. David, I know you're itching to get back in there, and when I introduce the topic, we're going to start it off back at you, okay?
Yes, sir.
The one thing I have, well, first of all, I'm going to be up front now. I have been connected to the church through my family. When I say through my family, I was brought up in the church, and my wife is very much a part of the church wherever she is. So my work, I felt, was more in the community, and that's why I chose to do more community work when I was working than I was being involved in the church. Now, of course, as an older man, you start to down, you see things differently. And at some point, I'm quite sure I'm going to end up sitting in the pews at my wife's church. So I want to make sure we're clear on where we're going and where things are. And with that, I'm going to kind of introduce your topic tonight. A little tricky. I had to think about this, and then it was staring right in front of me, and I just kind of put it together. Here's the topic. When God reveals his truth, black people double down and accept God's test. Now, that's a lot. What I did is took the title of your last 3 programs, came up with that question. So, as I said, David, I hate to do this to you, but you're on the hot seat, brother. Let's kick it off with you. Let me read it again. When God reveals his truth, black people, starting to unfold now, and I've heard you guys say that in your program. You understand where I'm going with it. Mm-hmm. When he reveals his truth to black people, double down and accept God's test, because that's where we are right now. The way I see it, we're at a point. Either, I hate to kind of compare it to the Hebrews, but we're at that point where God say, hey, I'm tired of pulling y'all out of this mess. It's time for y'all either to obey and walk that line, or you're going to be on your own. I'm saying there's a point in time, and if you haven't been following my program, one of the things I do, and the reason the program's name is given, is that with things that are unfolding recently, especially after January 6th, this is a repeat of things that happened 100 years ago.
Right.
People are not connecting the dots. So there's one other thing, and then I'm going to let Brother David answer the question. Because white America is so upset that black and brown America is now beginning to outnumber them, and they are no longer in control of the election, that is a problem. And history has shown, and I'm not saying anything negative, and when I'm talking about white folks, I'm talking about the power structure. I'm not talking about your neighbor next door or across the street. I'm actually talking about the power structure. So again, as we see this thing unfold, and we see it unfold in, a second time through history, actually a third time, I have to ask black folks, God's unveiling the truth to us. When are we going to double down on this truth? And when are we going to accept this test that he's put before us? I'm going to go ahead and throw that at David, and we'll circulate that all the way around.
Very nicely said and put. First of all, I would be remiss not to thank you for having us on, Brother Carlos. This is my first time having an opportunity to meet you. And I missed you when you were here in Omaha, as I understand. But thank you for having us.
You're very welcome.
But getting down to the question that you asked, one of the things that I think we as a black people have gotten so caught up in is the racial ticket. And it doesn't mean that racism doesn't exist. It does. But I think that what God is trying to show us is we need to stop focusing on the wolf tickets that they're selling us and realize how much power we really have, and come together and not let the title racism be an excuse for us to stand back and do nothing. I think that we are more powerful together as a unity, as a united group of people, bringing our ideals and our power and our abilities of cash reflects. The things that we can do to make us stronger is to share our lives with one another, share be transparent with each other and not be afraid of each other. We have allowed for the ticket of racism to destroy us. And it started way back, but I think it's more in our mental state that we as a people need to recognize. It's not by shackles we're in slavery, but it's by mentality. And we have to change our thinking and work together and realize that nothing can stop us. Nothing can hold us back. The scripture that says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. It's a powerful scripture. It sounds very simple, but it is. We can only do it through the strength and the power and the recognition and the ability that God gives us. And it's time for us to recognize that it's not the man that's holding us down. It's us that's holding us down.
Very well said. Very well said. Pastor, I know you got something for us, so I'm just gonna let you get right on into it.
Excuse me. Thank you, Carlos. Your topic is interesting, and as you put it, it's a combination of last three of our programs. Tried to write it down. I think I got it right, but I'm gonna throw out what's on my heart, what's on my mind right now. When God reveals His truth to us as a Black people, quoting a movie, a lot of us can't handle the truth. And some of us would rather believe a lie than to believe the truth. And we've been, because of the system and the way it is, we've been designed to think that way. We've been bamboozled. We've been tricked. And even in the church, I'm just not talking about out in society, but even in the church, the wool has been pulled over our eyes in many different instances as it pertains to the truth. There's a thing called critical race theory. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't want to deal with that. But all it is telling the truth of what took place in our history in this country. I talked to some Black people today, and they said if they start teaching that in our school, I'm pulling my kids out of school and do homeschooling. They don't want to know the truth. They don't want to know the truth of everything that our ancestors just a few generations ago had to deal with. They don't want to hear it. And if we don't know the truth, or we don't know our history, then we're destined to repeat it.
That's well said. And the reason I love the fact that you brought up critical race theory, because a lot of people take that out of concept of what it really is. It's a combination of two things, from what my understanding of the critical race theory, just to make sure listeners understand what we're talking about. There's a portion of history where America starts history at the founding of at the Revolutionary War and the founding of the Constitution. In reality, America started in 1619 when those first ships came over and had 20 African slaves on it. And what they really want American history to do is to reflect the truth and the real founding of America. Because they don't want to tell the story of why Jamestown was burned down and why they had to start it all over again. See, they don't really want to have to tell the truth on all that. They don't really want to tell the truth on how they engineered a social status for a class of people. I hate to say it that way, but that's the truth. They engineered
the truth.
And they also, by law, enacted law to place a group of people at the bottom rung of society, which was totally wrong. The other part of critical race theory is that it can be used as a tactic to prove that the U.S. owes reparation, and that's the other thing they're running.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for
All right, go right ahead.
diving deeper.
If you were
Diving
finished,
deeper into that. Appreciate it. The other part is to double down and accept the test. We as Black people, we've come a long way, but God knows we got a long way to go. And we had some things to celebrate. President Biden just signed off on Juneteenth celebration at holiday. Great, fantastic. I was proud all day when that took place. It made me feel like almost when President Obama won the election. That's the kind of pride I felt when Biden signed that and made it a law, a federal law. But are we ready to continue to test or to accept the test? God knows that He's given us the strength and the fortitude to do it because we've gone through 400 years of testing.
Right.
And we've done it. But right now, a lot of people want to just throw up their hands and want to just compromise and want to assimilate into white society and want to forget who they are as Black people.
Right.
We're a proud race of people. And if we can stop killing one another and stop hating one another and stop being jealous of one another and come together, then they have to respect us. And we can get some things done for our people.
Yes, sir.
That's where I'm at. And when I talk about the community. One of the things that I did mention, Carlos, is that, and you may remember that I'm a part of a group that works with individuals that are involved in violence, gun violence,
right.
Shooting. Work for it. The company is U-Turn, and we deal with these individuals. And so I'm involved daily with that in the community. But I'm also involved in ministry. And this here AJDW conversation is just an extension of ministry, how I look at it. But we have to accept the test. We have to accept what's before us.
And that's the main thing, is getting the people to accept that truth, what's being unfolded. They really don't see it for what it really is. The second side of that is, David, I kind of consider you the philosopher of the group. And when I started listening to the program, it seems like you at times were having some extremely deep thoughts. And it was like, this brother just blew me away. Let me back that up for a minute, make sure I heard it correctly. But I want you guys to consider one of the things that we haven't considered. And Alan, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm going to come right back to you. But I just had this thought and had to write it down. Pastor said that we don't understand who we are. We really don't understand who we are. No other people on the planet has gone what we have gone through over our history and survived. Not only did we survive, I call us baby kids. We don't die, we multiply. We really got to the point where we grew as a nation. I still think 40 million they claim we are is undercounted. I think we're close to 60, 70, 80 million in this country. And they don't really want to tell us that, because then we would understand the amount of power we really have in this country.
Right.
The other side of that is that when God carries you through, I'm going to call it 400 years just to round it off. When God carries you through 400 years of mistreatment, of misery, of enslavement, of having your freedom, your family destroyed, having everything taken away from you, and you still survive as a people, there is something special about those people.
That's right.
Pastor, that was an absolute truth when you said that. And to the point where I just had to write it down so I wouldn't forget it. Brother Black, we're going to go ahead and bring you in, Mr. Black. Again, I'm going to read the question. The topic is, when God reveals his truth to black people, to double down and accept God's test. That's our topic.
So I wrote down this statement. This was on my heart to write it down. And it talks about the truth. And I just wrote down this statement that truth revealed results in face-to-face moments of accountability. And I'm saying that because when you are dealing with the truth, unfiltered, without, say, any type of conditions or whatever the case may be, it's going to cause you to have to really look at yourself in the mirror and give a full accounting of exactly what is going on and where you are and what your place is and what your station is in life. And the reality, gentlemen, is that everybody talks about the truth. But like Jack Nicholson said, and you probably heard it in one of our other programs, some of us just can't handle the truth.
Right.
And the reason we can't handle the truth is because we don't want to. Because it's causing us to look ourselves in the mirror and be critical and be honest. And a lot of times people just don't want to do that. And so that gives everybody, it gives individuals the opportunity to then look for some type of, let's say, exit ramp, where you can get off that exit ramp and you say, well, yeah, that's cool, but I'm gonna go a different direction because I gotta do my own thing. And so at that point, you begin the process of actually trying to run away from what God's calling you to do. And history has shown each and every time that when people run away from what God's calling them to do, invariably they're going to make a bigger mess than they already have. His truth has always been divine, and it's divine for us as a people because of nothing else. And you mentioned this, Carlos. If we were to stop and really study who we are and what we've come through in 400 plus years, it would be an awakening where people would say, oh man, the light just came on. We are a great people. We are a chosen people. And there's nothing we cannot do if we come together, like Pastor Hunter said, and really incorporate all that we possess in terms of talent and abilities and move forward. And the truth of the matter is, and this is not a secret, it's an open secret to be truthful with you. The greatest fear of the majority for 400 years has been, at what point will Black people wake up and say, oh, wait a minute, I'm not taking this anymore. I'm going to take a new approach, and it's time for me to move forward and do what I've been called to do. That's the greatest fear of the majority in this country. And you're seeing the backlash now because little by little, there's an awakening. We saw it with the George Floyd situation in 2020. And all of a sudden, this new generation, and it was kind of reminiscent of me because I'm old enough to remember, of the 60s and 64, 65, 66, somewhere in there, where people just said, no, we're not dealing with this anymore. They woke up and they came together and they created this movement that was strongly resisted. We're all old enough to have seen those pictures, have lived through it, to see how the powers that be fought back against it. But in the end, guess what? They couldn't deny us what we were entitled to. And so what I'm seeing from the 2020 movement from that moment is there's an awakening where the spark has been lit. And if we can keep it lit and take that flame to the next level, there's no stopping us. But the question becomes, are we really willing to double down on what God's calling us to do, to answer your question, Carlos? Because guess what? That means you've got to make a commitment, and it means you've got to be honest with yourself. And most of the time, people don't want to be honest. They can look at the flaws in somebody else's eye, and they can say, well, you ain't this and you ain't that. But they ain't gonna look at the flaw or the log or the forest in their own eyes and see their own shortcomings. And kind of going back to what Pastor Hunter said, if we really knew the power that we possess, we would move away from a slave mentality, and we wouldn't be killing each other. Because guess what? In the 60s, I'm at the age now where I remember in the 60s, there was some violence, but we weren't killing each other over nothing the way we do now. And guess what? The majority is quite fine with it. They're like, let them kill each other. But when we recognize we can double down and we can change it, it'll be a whole different paradigm. But the question becomes, Carlos, are we really willing to do that? Because it means accountability, and it means you've got to put yourself in check. A lot of times it also means that you've got to put your selfish motives out of the way, and you have to work for a greater good.
You know, Mr. Black, that's the hardest things for most individuals to do, is to do a self-analysis and then do a self-check and then do a self-correction. Generally, it takes another force to come along and kind of nudge you in that direction, I should say. So hopefully programs like what you're doing, what I'm doing, is going to be that force, and will kind of nudge people in that direction to say, hey, I have to reevaluate myself first and foremost. And here's the thing. One of the beautiful things, I missed this earlier about your group, is that you have the group set up from the eldest to the youngest, and that hierarchy alone is a teaching tool for our young people on how to address our elders. One of the things that I have seen totally disappear from generations is I have two great grandchildren, but they're not old enough where I can see how society or how they were developed. But I do have grandchildren that are now old enough, and it's like I have to remind them constantly, who you speaking to? Who you speaking to? You just don't turn around when I call you and say what? That's not proper. I don't want to get too far off on that. Real quick.
That's good.
I'm going to bring it back, and that's important because teaching these small things like this helps us correct our community, as Mr. Black was pointing out, by starting by correcting the problem we see right in front of us. I'm going to go ahead and bring it back around to Mr. Newsom, and if you have any other words concerning the topic, sir.
I would love to, as we have shared, I would love for us to begin to have that conversation on how we begin to reprogram the ideal of what has been programmed in us. Slavery in its history has always been known what has happened to us. The part that we haven't shared, nor do we even talk a lot about, is the things that our people have created to build this country to make it what it is. We don't even know. When you look at Washington, D.C., the whole White House, that whole corner, that whole block was designed by a black man. When you talk about the dryer that you drying your clothes in, was designed by a black man. The red light, the red light, yellow light, green light, that was designed by a white man, a black man. Refrigeration, black man. These are so many things that would build the capability of the young generation to know what they're capable of doing, and not always hearing that you were enslaved, but now hearing what you have been able to create it through your lineage, through our people. When we talk about what we've been able to accomplish, it brings power. It brings the ability to know that you are more than just who they say you are. You are a conqueror. And that's how we have to begin to build the mindset of our people, our young people. We have to change it. And the way we change it is by talking about where we've come from and how we have built it, what we have done to accomplish things. We don't hear enough of that.
here's the other beautiful thing about you brothers is from what you're doing. When I was doing one of my shows, I had the opportunity to be talking with a younger man, and I didn't realize the importance of having intergenerational conversations where you have one generation talking to another. The type of wisdom that you can pick even from the younger generation.
That's true. That's true.
Even from the younger generation, there is some things you can pick up from them as well. But the real thing that it teaches is what we hit on earlier when I said the proper way to address and speak to our elders. Until we correct that problem, our youth will not see the value of who we are and what we can give them, if you ask me.
And the problem with that, Brother Carlos, too, is adults haven't always been adults to the youth.
That's true.
And that becomes an issue.
Yes.
So a youth have a hard time trying to respect adults that haven't carried themselves in an adult-like manner. You know, I was raised in an environment where we were taught to respect the elders. I don't care what they say. You say nothing.
Right.
Even if you're being blamed for something you didn't do, you be quiet and let mom and dad talk. You let them fix it. And to the days, even in the church aspect, leaders, people in respectable seating, things that do things for the community, they have failed on that image. So now the young people, they feel like there is nothing there to respect. You know, the greatest compliment for me this Father's Day in particularly was how many people that are outside of my family text me Happy Father's Day. That blew me away. That blew me away.
Yes,
because
sir.
what I
Yes, sir.
Right. Because what I took from the younger people, I said, wow, they view me as a father role model.
Right.
That is huge. It makes you check yourself. So we have to hold accountability with adults first so that we can teach the young. And we have to make ourselves qualified to do so.
Yes, we do. Pastor, I'm going to give you a few minutes to close this one out, and then I got a couple of more, and we're going to wrap it up for this evening.
Right. I'll try my best to be quick. The issue that I see with us as a people is that how do we balance or how do we address both issues? How do we talk about our history and the negative things that took place that built us up and that we persevered and that made us stronger? And then also, how can we, because as I said earlier, if we don't remember our history, our past, we're more likely to repeat it. Right. So we can't forget that. But then how do we talk about and address the accomplishments of Black people? How do we balance that out? And I think that's what we need to figure out. And one other thing, something that was really disturbing to me, as David, you mentioned that Father's Day was yesterday. And it's a wonderful thing to be a father. It's a great responsibility to be a father. And a lot of our Black men have shunned that responsibility.
Right.
And there's a lot of Black mothers that are raising their children on their own because Black men can't handle the responsibility and have run away from it. And what bothers me is that mothers yesterday was celebrating Father's Day.
That's it.
They have to
That's
because they played the role.
They played the role.
That's right.
They played the
That's
role.
right.
I hate to say it. I used to have a female friend I used to call because she raised 2 kids on her own on Father's Day. And I say, hey, I'm going to call you Mother's Day and Father's Day. You're going to get called both days because you did both jobs.
Exactly.
That's right.
I'm gonna switch it up real quick. Brother Black, I'm going to throw this one at you, Mr. Black. Any of y'all happen to see the series that ran on ABC News called Soul of the Nation?
Yeah, I did see parts of it. Yes.
I saw parts of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I really want to talk about is just the soul of the nation. Because that's part of what we don't understand, the contribution that Black America, and Brother Newsom brought up many contributions that we made while we're here. But when you look at the culture of this country, you have to point to us and say that we are the soul of America.
Right.
We set the culture, and that's the dress, the look, the slang.
Yeah.
We set the trend, pretty much. Our young people do that. And I mean, since about the 80s now, that's been very, very prevalent that our young people set the trend. It's no secret that a lot of these clothing and shoe lines, and if you want to sell it, they used to say, give it to a rapper. That's what they used to say. That's how the ad industry used to go. If you want it sold, give it to a rapper. Have them wear it on stage or do a commercial or whatever. We have to kind of do the same thing with who we are. And resell to our community that we are special people. I love the fact that Mr. Black said that we kind of like the chosen people, but I don't want to offend any folks when it comes down to that. And plus, I'm building a show that's going to show you who the true Hebrews are. There's already too much information out there. I'm just going to pull the covers off of the ones that claim that they run Israel. And that's coming up real soon. I'm doing the research on that now. And when I unfold that, you begin to understand the control figures, because these same folks I'm talking about are the people that are holding our culture. Let me rephrase that. These same people are the people who are getting paid for our culture. They're getting paid off of the music. They're getting paid off of the clothing. They're getting paid off of the shoes. You see, that doesn't come down to our community and our people. Hopefully they understand that. That goes somewhere else. So as I start to unravel that and start to present on that, I'll make sure I get the word out on that. But I want to touch on one other thing that I'm going to bring to you. Pastor, I heard one of the tunes you played at one of your programs back and picked up a little Marvin Gaye, and I'm saying, Marvin Gaye's music, especially in 1971, what's going on was it's still on point today.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
You listen to that entire album and everything he's talking about, we're seeing the same thing today. The same things are in effect right now. Kind of bring this to a wrap and getting us started to wrap things up for the evening. Brothers enjoy good movies?
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all call it what's on top.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I like to do a little movie segment, and I got a good one that I caught the other night. And you know how it is, sometimes you're sitting on the couch and you just kind of flicking through things and just something pops up. And there it is. This is what happened to me the other night. Name of the movie is Standing in the Shadows of Motown. Now, I actually saw this movie about 15 years ago. It's a documentary that came out on the Funk Brothers. Are you guys familiar with the Funk Brothers?
Out of Alabama, I do believe, aren't they?
A lot of them brothers left the South, went north to Detroit. They went north to work in the car factories, but these guys were musicians, so they took their instruments with them and they started playing in the local clubs, started playing jazz and blues in the local club. found out this guy named Berry Gordy needed a session band. And of course, people know people, and these guys kind of knew each other from playing around Detroit, and they put this band together. The reason why this movie is so spectacular is this. Standing in the Shadows of Motown. People don't know the Funk Brothers was a session band to every hit that came out of Motown from 1959 up to, what was it, 72 before the band officially broke up.
Wow.
That is a run, man. And just think about the number of hits that came out of Motown.
And Carlos, let me say this. The truth of the matter about the Funk Brothers is this. Without them being the backing band in the studios to create the music that you heard from Motown, Motown would not have made it.
True.
The Funk Brothers are considered the unsung heroes within the Motown story because their name is not on the albums or the CDs, but none of the, in terms of saying being out front performers, but the core of that Motown sound and that Motown vibe came from these brothers behind the scenes in the studio, creating the sound that you heard from 59 all the way up to. You wouldn't have had the sound of like a Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, or even early Marvin Gaye or Gladys Knight when she was with them without the Funk Brothers. And we don't know. See, when music is created, you hear the final product, but and David knows this better than I do. You don't know what went on behind the scenes to create what you hear on the radio. And that's the greatest influence that we don't know about.
Maybe I'm going to let you respond to that, but real quick, see, the way Pastor brought that to me was that hearing Marvin Gaye play that song in 1971 and related to the times of today, he also probably didn't know that What's Going On was the first time Motown gave credit to the musician. On the album, on that album, they gave those musicians the credit.
Wow.
That was the first time they did it. But the following year, they broke up. They left Detroit and went to L.A., and a lot of the session players didn't. I mean, some did follow them to L.A., but the main guy stayed in Detroit. Plus, some of them had passed on by that time. But most amazing band. And if you haven't seen the documentary, I think I saw it on Prime. Standing in the Shadows of Motown. And it's a documentary on the Funk Brothers. They start the whole thing off showing that the Funk Brothers had more hits combined than groups like the Beatles, Rolling Stone. I mean, some pretty large groups combined. Wow. Elvis was in that group. That they put out more hits than any of those groups, and nobody knows their name.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's the sad thing about it.
Yeah, it is.
That's sad.
One of the movies that comes very clear to me. In fact, I just watched this. My wife and I, she wanted me to watch this movie with her, and it was Mahogany. The Mahogany movie. You talked about Diana Ross. You mentioned Berry Gordy. You mentioned Motown.
Yes.
That movie with her, it just struck me so different. I've seen it once before, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. And the thing that really rang clear to me is what a person has to go through and the strength and integrity that they had to work with back in that day in slavery, and how they had to push through and fight to get something. And then once they achieved it, even though drugs and all that other stuff might have been an issue at one time, they never left from their base and what they were intended to do. They always found their way back to finishing their material and making it powerful. And those songs today are still a staple. Still a staple.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
Yeah. Yes, and she's alive today.
Yes. Tell you the truth, I used to have a thing for Diana Ross when I was young. Actually, I got mad when she left the Supreme.
I still haven't forgiven her for it. I haven't forgiven her for it. I'm petty, but I'm still angry that she left.
But she never lost herself.
I felt the same way. Why did she have to be the Supreme?
Diana was the epitome of elegance when she was on stage.
Yes, she was.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and her voice is, I mean, that's a recognizable voice from any era.
Yes.
Okay, it's Diana Ross's voice. So go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, the movie that I thought about is that Godfather of Harlem, and that whole saga and everything. I've watched the movie and then watched the series, and just to see, what they dealt with in New York during that time frame, and that was in the 60s. What I'm talking about, in the 60s, that they were coming up dealing with a lot of negative, but they did what they felt like they had to do to survive.
Right.
And from the drugs and the other illegal stuff, but to see Black people in the midst of the struggle during that time. You're talking about singers during that era. One of the singers that came after Diana that has a very unique voice, and if I hear it, if I'm searching the internet or whatever and hear Whitney Houston.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God. I mean, just give me chills with some of the songs that she sung.
And the movie Bodyguard.
Yes.
Exactly.
She was amazing.
An amazing talent.
Now, I'm going to tell you.
And we're talking about Black people.
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to tell you that song that Whitney put out, I'm Saving All My Love for him. They got a bunch of folks in trouble.
Not going near that one with a 10-foot pole.
Oh, yeah. But
Yes,
the one song, the thing that amazed me, one of the songs, what was the song, her leading ballad that Dolly Parton had written?
I Will Always Love You.
Yeah, I Will Always Love You.
Ooh, she took that song to a total different level. And it was written by Dolly Parton and sung by. And a Black woman took it to another level.
And turned it into her own. Not even Dolly Parton can touch it now.
Dolly herself, she said she can't touch it. But let me jump in here for just a second. We're talking about the music side of Black America. One of the things that I was hoping that really hit people with the soul of a nation is the fact that when you talk about us as a people, I said we're a chosen people. I said it, I stand by it. I'm not going to take it back. So I'm thinking about the fact that when you look at just say the music side, we don't have to go back to the 80s, Carlos. We can go back to the 1910s and 1920s. We have Big Mama Thornton and people like that, Bo Diddley, people like that. Okay, when we talk about Big Mama Thornton, the truth of the matter is Elvis was influenced by her and appropriated her music and turned it into his. Okay, Little Richard was a pioneer in the 50s and the 60s, and then you have white artists coming along appropriating that music.
Right.
So what comes out of the soul of the nation to me is, again, do you really understand the dynamic blessing that God has given us as a people in terms of talents and gifts, in spite of what we have been through and continue to deal with? And I'm going to mention one song for me in the 60s that was, for me, I thought, because at that time I was about 12 or 13, when James Brown released Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, that was a revolutionary moment, because you know what? Up to that point, in terms of my walk at 10, 11, being called Black was, you were ready to fight somebody.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
You ready to throw down. And as I told the guys, I had a double whammy because my last name is Black. Okay? So I had to deal with it on two fronts. But when he came up with that song, to me, there was an awakening of a conscience. And all of a sudden, people said, man, I am proud to be Black.
Right.
It was at that moment when white America, I'm just going to make it plain, really got concerned, because now this awakening hit, like the alarm went off, and we said, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. And that was an awakening moment for Black America, where they said, you know what, James is right. you started seeing the fro, you started seeing the Black Power side.
Right.
You started seeing the movement in terms of community standing up and saying, we're going to take care of our own, kind of tying back to what Malcolm X was talking about.
That's right.
That scares the you-know-what out of the majority. Let's be real about it.
True.
And if we would ever recognize that we have that power to do that, there would be no stopping us. But the greatest trick of the enemy is to create the mindset that people are to be divided amongst themselves. As long as they're fighting amongst themselves, they'll never get to be divided.
That is true. Let me go
And
ahead
if
and
we can
start to wrap this up. Go ahead, Mr. Newsom.
And I'm gonna make it really short. If we could come together with our lifestyle like we do with music that speaks to the soul, that would tell a whole lot. And it would allow us to know how much more we can accomplish. The music, we can get together. We can dance on the floor. We can feel the beat. We can feel the rhythm. James Brown is one of those ones. He kept the spirits high for the people back in that day. That's what gave us that feeling of dancing and love. We didn't have to think about nothing that wasn't going right. All you had was that moment to feel good.
You see that energy that he just put through that? I mean, just conveying that energy to the young people, I could see them starting to pick up that same energy and take that and go. Pastor, go ahead and give us a few words to get ready to wrap us up and get us out of here.
You know, Carlos, this has been a great opportunity, and thank you for allowing us to come on. But I think, Alan, you said it best when you brought up James Brown. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. I am black, and I'm proud to be a black man.
Amen.
Thank you, sir.
I know that's right.
Yes, sir.
I wake up every morning black.
See? Doesn't change.
I go to bed black.
That's right.
I'm black. And I thank God that I am who I am and the color of my skin, and to be able to just conversate with 3 other black men.
Mm-hmm.
Look, we're on the internet. We're on a Zoom call. We're on a podcast. Black men.
Yes.
And there's no white man hosting this.
There was
running
no
this.
negativity. There was no
That's right.
open disagreement. There was none of that. And that's the way we have to begin to sit down and learn to talk to each other within our community.
Exactly.
Putting things, I was telling my son this when he was here this past weekend. My youngest son is still in Omaha, by the way. He was here Saturday, and I was telling him that the biggest problem that I find throughout that causes a lot of chaos throughout our communities is communication. A lot of us do not communicate properly, whether we half communicate, whether we do not tell our true intention in communication, whether we communicate in a timely manner, because a lot of people don't understand that if I send you a message and I say, okay, I'm gonna give him till tomorrow to return that message, that's acceptable. But then if it's next week and I get the message back, I mean, I will respond to the message, but I'm not gonna be happy. Because the one thing that I learned in my time on the planet is the only thing in this world you cannot get back is time.
Amen.
You respect people's time. And Pastor, I remember hearing those words that you spoke earlier, and I appreciate you saying that. That is the one thing that drove me, is that I will not waste people's time. If I'm in a bad situation and I'm supposed to get with you, it is my job to communicate with you that my situation changed, so that you don't get there waiting for me, and then I got you held up in time that you can't get back. So that is the whole purpose of that. And gentlemen, I was excited about this when Mr. Black told me he was going to do this and that the group said yes. I was excited from day one, And trust me, you guys did not disappoint. This was a great conversation. I didn't even pull the topic until about 6:30 this evening. I had just finished listening to the third podcast you guys had done, and I had that sitting in front of me, and just lined up right in front of me. I said, "There's the question." I just started writing it down. So thank you for all that inspiration. You made this a fabulous program as far as I'm concerned. I really enjoyed the conversation. David, next time I'm in Omaha, I'm going to let Pastor and Alan know that I'm there. I would love the opportunity to meet you face to face.
I would be honored.
You have a very sharp mind, young man, and I know you're younger than me, so don't be.
I'm getting up there.
Don't take exception to that. You got a very bright mind, and the words and wisdom, Pastor Hunter, is always appreciated. Always appreciated. He didn't know I was listening to him some of them Sunday mornings. I got up and was having my coffee on mine, and so he didn't know I was listening. But I was listening. And Brother Black, I wish you all the success, especially with the book. You're talking about a brother that brings you good ideals and will not, once he believes in you, this brother is going to pursue you. And that tells me he's good people all the way around. And one of the things that I pride myself in is that I love surrounding myself with good people, especially good people that are crazy, good crazy. Can't do the bad crazy, but the good crazy we can do.
Yes, sir. I agree.
I agree.
Is that similar to Good Trouble?
That's it. John Lewis.
That's it.
I like it, Pastor.
That's Good Trouble. That's
There's
it.
a way you can be in good trouble. You just don't have to go down that bad trouble road.
Right.
I was in good trouble yesterday. With the wife, after I said a few things about that I shouldn't have said, because I was fixing the meat, she was fixing the sides, and I guess I got the meat done before she got the sides done. And it's like, babe, I'm really ready to sit down and eat this. Next thing I know, my wife said, "Go on and sit down." Wait a minute. She said, "Go on and sit down." I went down there and sat at the table. Came down there, she had sliced up the meat I brought off the grill. Put it on the
Without the sides.
That's good trouble. Okay.
That's good trouble.
That was good trouble. Okay. But thank you, gentlemen, for all taking your time to be with me tonight. I really appreciate it. Again, AJDW Conversations. Pastor Alan, David, one of you, tell the people where they can get up on you, where they can find you, hear the conversation.
You can get up on us on any podcast that you have on your phones. Spotify. We are on podcasts. We are on, let's see, what's the other ones? Acast. There's several, any kind of podcast you have able to pull up on your phone or on your devices. You put AJDW Conversation and we should come up. We should be right there. I do know we're on Acast, we're on Spotify, and we're also on the direct podcast on your iPhone.
That is beautiful. Thank you very much for that information. And again, gentlemen, thank you all. You all have a great night. I will send you Alan, I will send the link to this. This should air live on YouTube, but I usually take the YouTube link and post it to Facebook. So as soon as I have that link, I'll send that to you, Alan. I really enjoyed the show. I can't wait to hear it. You guys enjoy the night. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Carlos.
Be
Bless you, sir.
Pastor, my number's still the same.
All right.
My number ain't changed. And if you don't know, get it from Mr. Bly.
Okay.
All right, sir. I'm looking forward to hear from y'all.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you all. That was a wonderful conversation that I had with AJDW. One of the best conversations I've had in a while with a group of men. And as you can see, that conversation went so well, so smooth. Everybody had a chance to get their opinion in, to state the facts. The one thing you saw and heard throughout the broadcast was the unity between the brothers, that there are some things that God has revealed to us, and it's now time to take that test, take on that test, and do the work. As Mr. Black said during the conversation, we now have to do a self-evaluation, a self-check, and a self-correction so that we can prepare ourselves to properly prepare the youth to do the things we're supposed to do in this generation to get our youth ready to take on the craziness of this world. So with all that said, really guys, one of the best conversations I had. This is Get Ready. I'm gonna go ahead and sign off for tonight. We'll see everybody in a couple of weeks, coming up in a couple of weeks. I should be doing an interview with Mr. Mickey Dean, one of the comrades here with the Kansas City chapter of Black United Front. He's retired now, but I did a lot of work with Mr. Dean when I was here in Kansas City before I left in '95. So we got a lot to get caught up on, and there's a lot of history that Mr. Mickey Dean has that I'm going to share with everyone. So look forward to that conversation again. That is coming up 2 weeks from tonight at 7:30, right here, YouTube Live. Y'all have a great evening. Thanks for joining me.